It's interesting because I was leading the research to figure out, what system makes sense, what do we need it to accomplish, what are the options out there, made the case to bring marketing automation in, and when it was finally a go, and we were actually working through implementation, I kind of had that moment of, what does this actually mean, right? How is this going to change our world in terms of our business and our marketing team? And I remember my boss at the time saying, what do we need to be thinking about differently, or what do we need to be planning to do differently? And we both just sort of sat there saying, we don't really know. We're going to have to figure this out as we go. And some of it we could sort of think ahead on. I mean, this was in 2009. And so when we were looking at the marketing team at the time, we were saying, who's going to get on board with using technology, right? They weren't really using technology so much on a day-to-day basis. And so recognizing they're going to have to use technology, and some people are a little more gun shy when it comes to changing their processes from paper or spreadsheets or Word docs over to a more automated platform that has sort of a specific way to be set up. And so it was interesting to go through that process and learn that was real. Marketers do have to sort of adopt the technology, even if you're not the person that's managing the marketing automation platform itself. And we thought that would be the case. We saw that actually come to fruition, which of course then I'm able to kind of let other people know, hey, your suspicion that this is going to happen is actually true. The skill set, I mean, of course, if it's your first time adopting marketing automation, you don't necessarily have the skill set internally to just jump in and use it right away. So there's training that needs to happen. There's kind of patience and time, knowing that the first time you get your campaign set up and executed, it's going to take longer than it's going to a year down the road or 2 years down the road, of course. And then from a budget perspective, right, that's a bit different. If you didn't have marketing automation before, you have a new budget item that you need to account for, and oftentimes you need to kind of make the case to your executives because they're not used to seeing it, and they kind of say, well, what's happening differently now than was happening before we had this platform?
Yeah, when you kind of have to make those cases about, doing new training, maybe bringing on new people that do understand the technology, and then also budgeting for this technology, what is that case to be made? Is it the ultimate long-term financial benefits that marketing automation will bring?
Yeah, I mean, there's the financial benefits, and there's also financial benefits not just from, there's improved efficiency and sort of that aspect of it, but there's also the improved effectiveness of your marketing, right? Because you're able to target and personalize so much more effectively and efficiently than before. So you need to look at kind of the results of your marketing, and instead of sort of spinning your wheels and executing at this level, you're now kind of making progress and executing more effectively and efficiently. So you're pushing that needle ahead and performing like an entirely different marketing team if you look a year or two down the line or 5 years down the line from before you had the platform.
When you're talking to a client, once they've kind of made this case about these are the benefits of implementing a marketing automation platform, and say Definitive Results goes in to start helping implement this with a client, or you're just talking to a client who's trying to implement a marketing automation platform for the first time, what's step number one you kind of work through with them once they've kind of made the decision on the platform they want to use? What's step one that you talk to them about making sure that they get started on the right track?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely talk about, what's your plan for implementation? Picking a timeline that's going to coordinate with whatever you're trying to accomplish. So if it's your super busy season, maybe you're, sort of in education and there's enrollment in a certain time, that's not the time to put in your new system. So let's find the best time of year to coordinate that. And then, of course, kind of what that planning and roadmap looks like. So it's not just implementing and then off you go, nothing else to figure out. There's an entire roadmap beyond that implementation that you want to think through so that you allow time for your team to get trained, to have a little extra space to learn how to execute their first campaign and start to tackle some of the new features. And then we talk about the team. So a lot of times if you don't have marketing automation, you don't necessarily have people on your team who are best equipped to manage marketing automation. So you want to think about that, which often leads to, we need somebody to be thinking about marketing automation, which evolves to marketing operations, right? Which is a little bit beyond just marketing automation, but the other sort of operations and technology within marketing. And you start to see the org structure migrate a bit around the fact that you sort of brought technology into the center of your marketing strategy.
Yeah, when you're talking about the team, do you usually, when you go to tackle that piece, because obviously there can be a huge change, and there will be a huge change going from traditional marketing to using marketing automation, or even if you're doing batch and send and, not using the technology to the fullest extent, do you find it easier to kind of get one or a few people on board before trying to incorporate the whole team, or do you think that it's better to kind of get the whole team involved from the onset?
It depends. I always say it depends, but it depends on the team that you have. It depends on the size of the team. If you're a small team, we might want to start, getting everybody involved and at least aware. Where I like to start that conversation is, what is the skill set and interest on your team currently? Is there anybody who is technologically savvy, already talking about being interested in learning marketing automation? Is there anybody who just sort of has a knack for diving in and picking up something new, hasn't necessarily done this yet, but you think might be a good person to kind of tag with this responsibility and sort of bring them into the process, whether you're just sort of evaluating the systems, thinking about marketing automation, and help them, just bring them in so that they feel a part of the decision-making process as well as later the adoption. There are times, though, where somebody will say, we don't really have anybody like that, or there's somebody actually in sales ops that might be interested. That's an option too. So you can kind of get creative on who should be the right resource, but it doesn't have to be somebody who already has years of experience with marketing automation.
Cool. And on the flip side of that, so you have someone who's excited about starting the process. Certainly there are going to be situations where you have people who are not excited about moving into the automated side of marketing. What are some things that you can kind of talk to that person or those people about and try to get them kind of moving forward with the team in the right direction?
Yeah, I think it's a lot. It's change management, right? So it's sort of introducing them to the concept, recognizing, what's going to motivate them, as in what's in it for them. What are they going to feel most excited about from marketing automation? Brings a lot of benefits to different marketers in different ways. So kind of recognizing what's going to resonate for this person and motivate them to pick things up. But if they are somebody who's not really likely to kind of take to the technology side of it, also thinking about, does their role need to have that function? Mm-hmm. Is there a way where they don't necessarily need to? Maybe they could sort of dabble in it a little bit or put in requests and somebody else executes it. So that kind of will run you to the question of, should you centralize the people in marketing who are using marketing automation, or is it better to have everybody in the marketing automation platform? And there is no right or wrong answer to that. It really depends on your team structure, your business, and how kind of marketing managers are separated by business unit or product or function, even before the technology comes in.
Yeah, and I think trying to convince those people on, the marketing people as well as the organization as a whole is kind of highlighting the pain points and how marketing automation will help solve those pain points.
Yes.
So are there any specific pain points that you think kind of get maybe the business side of things over that roadblock of, do we want to actually start paying for and implementing the new training we have to do and the kind of change management and the organization restructure? Are there certain pain points that, if you're trying to get your team to implement marketing automation, that you can kind of sell that to the C-suite or the business deciders?
Yeah, I think efficiency is a big piece of it. So instead of creating one-off campaigns all of the time, you're actually creating the automation piece of it, which means let's really think through the best way to strategically and personally communicate with people at the various points of the buyer and customer journey. And once you set them up, it's not set it and forget it, because you're going to continue to look back at how it performs and optimize, which is also the magic, because you don't necessarily get to do that before marketing automation. But then you have your marketers sort of looking toward the next thing. How do we continuously push the envelope? So that's sort of efficiency and up-leveling the effectiveness of your marketing.
Another thing, like going off of this in terms of kind of getting these people on board, is once you implement, you have to show the success of this. And we've talked about attribution reporting before, and reporting in general before. At what point do you think, when you're launching a marketing automation platform, do you introduce the reporting? Is that something you should do from day one, or is that something that you have to get really set up and get flowing before you should start talking about reporting?
So I always think of reporting on a spectrum also. And so that is another huge benefit that the marketers see, is much clearer insight into what's working and what isn't working, and not just overall, but with different audiences at different points along that buyer customer journey. But the reporting spectrum is sort of looking at, okay, there's basic reporting that is very important, but it's looking at, what emails are getting the best click-through, are people actually turning into making the call to sales, right? Ready to kind of push through the marketing sales funnel. How are emails performing? How are campaigns reporting, right? Which includes the forms that are included, the landing pages, the emails. And then you kind of take it up to sort of beyond the campaign level, looking at a program level, which different companies categorize in different ways. And then you sort of take it all the way up to that level of attribution reporting. And so the best way to introduce it is sort of looking along that spectrum. So when you first get marketing automation, there's a lot of data and there's a lot of metrics, and that's wonderful. And it can be stressful because you have to really understand and dive into, okay, what do they mean when they say this metric? How exactly is that calculated, and how does it compare to other campaigns, other campaign types, what we were doing before we had technology. And so if you start with kind of the basic metrics and then you work your way up to look higher level, higher level, higher level, you will make your way to attribution reporting. Attribution reporting is not something that you typically launch right out the gate. It's too much. There's a lot that goes into it. And your company sort of needs to have figured out that they're at a point where they're ready to devote the time and resources to tackle it.
Awesome. And obviously this can be a huge change to attribution reporting. Even once you get into the actual marketing automation platform is a huge change, but the change getting from traditional marketing to marketing automation is a huge change. If you had to give one piece of high-level advice to those who are moving and ready to launch their marketing automation platform, what would that one piece of advice be from the get-go?
I would say don't let the fear of change management hold you back from taking the steps forward. As with everything, you're going to take one step after the other. And even if you go into it without a guide, without knowing sort of what's going to happen 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the road, you're going to figure it out, and just continuously revisit the change management concept to help everybody be on board, feel comfortable, and then successfully tackle their step after step approach.